Hi, everybody. Welcome to Workshop Wednesday and this fireside chat with members of the Sea Lighting Foundation. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Rachel. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the artist workshop producer at NYTW. We are on Zoom today and also on Facebook Live, and we are so happy for everybody who's joining us. New York Theater Workshop has long sought to create art that interrogates our past as a way of understanding the present and shining light towards the future. To that end, we are taking the time to recognize the history of the land we occupy in the East Village. And as we find ourselves in the digital space, we'd like to embrace this opportunity to acknowledge the many native lands from which we are all tuning in. We're posting a link in the chat where you can learn about the tribal history of the land on which you're situated. We invite everyone to take a moment, input your address into the website, and post in the chat the native land from which you are joining us. The workshop is situated on the island of Manhattan, and we acknowledge the island as the traditional lands of the Munsee Lenape, the Canarsie, the Unkachag, Matinecock, Shinnecock, Regawank, and the Haudenosaunee Confederacy. The masterclass today is part of New York Theater Workshop's virtual programming series, which is all free and available to the entire NYTW community. If you're in the position to do so, we hope you would consider making a donation in honor of this class to the Sea Lighting Foundation and also to NYTW to support ongoing programming. You'll find a link to donate to both organizations in the chat on Zoom and in the comments on Facebook. And you're about to hear more about the Sea Lighting Foundation and all of the important work that they're doing. So I'm very happy to welcome members of the Sea Lighting Foundation for today's discussion. The Sea Lighting Foundation is a grassroots organization committed to supporting immigrant artists, theater artists during the global pandemic. The foundation aims to distribute $500 monthly grants to all 60 immigrant artists registered with the foundation until the end of 2020. The conversation will be moderated by one of the foundation's founders, Kimie Nishikawa, and 3 artists in the Sea community, Stefania Bulbarella, Danilo Gambini, and Yijun Yang. The conversation will last around an hour, and we'll also open it up to Q&A. And when we get to the Q&A, feel free to use the Q&A portion of Zoom, or you can use the comments on Facebook. So I'm going to read some very brief bios for our moderator and panelists, and we're also going to put longer bios in the chat. Kimie Nishikawa is a Japanese scenic designer based in NYC. Some recent credits include The Headlands at LCT3, Gnit at Tafana, and Dr. Ride's American Beach House at Ars Nova. Stefania Bulbarella is an Argentinian director and projection video designer based in Brooklyn. Some of her latest credits include Essentials, the Free Street Theater in Chicago, Closure, the movement theater company One Move Design, and Unstuck at the Tank. Danilo Gambini is a New York-based director of theater, musicals, and opera, originally from Sao Paulo, Brazil. Some directing credits include the musicals Fun Home and The Who's Tommy, Shakespeare's The Tempest, and Noah Diaz's Rock Egg Spoon. And Yijun Yang is a set designer and production designer based in New York City, originally from China. Some recent credits include Big Green Theater, the movie, and Stupid Fucking Bird at the Lee Strasberg Theater and Film Institute. So without further ado, I'm very happy to invite them all to turn their videos on. Hello, welcome, welcome. And I'm gonna head out and I will see you later at the Q&A.
Here, Rachel.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Kimie Nishikawa. I'm one of the co-founders of Sea Lighting Foundation, along with Cha Si and Rodrigo Munoz. And I just want to thank New York Theater Workshop for hosting such a platform for us. It's really meaningful, and I'm so happy to be able to share this space with the community and also have the opportunity to introduce our extremely talented, wonderful artists to everyone. Before we dive in there, I just wanted to introduce what the Sea Lighting Foundation does for folks who aren't familiar with what we do. So just a very brief presentation. So let's see. Do we all see that? All right. So we are a group of scenic costume, lighting, sound, projection designers, stage managers, dramaturgs, prop artisans, technical directors, and actors for theater. Most of us work under an O1 visa, which I would explain a little bit the details later. And we started the Sea Lighting Foundation because we were faced with the difficulties when COVID hit. And a lot of us, unfortunately, were not able to apply for unemployment benefits. So that's how we started the Sea Lighting Foundation. And because our visa is issued to allow us to do specific work, most of us were not able to legally seek work outside of our field. We have obtained our visa for. And so a lot of us are under the O1 visa or an OPT, which refers to temporary employment that is directly related to an F1 student's major area of study. And the length is 12 months. So as you all know, live theater is not happening right now. And this 1 year of OPT is usually when we had the opportunity to get credits, get experience, and also make new connections in our field. And because that is not possible at the moment, we really need help from the community, and also platforms like this that New York Theater Workshop has provided us is extremely helpful for us to be able to put on our resumes and help with our future visa applications. And an O1 visa, maybe some folks have heard of it, but it is a non-immigrant visa given to individuals with extraordinary ability or achievement. And the only qualification to be on the Sea Lighting Foundation is that you are either on this visa or an OPT. There is no vetting process at all. Whoever comes to us for help, we put on the list, and we are trying to help as many folks as possible. Currently, there are 62 registered artists who are receiving $500 a month since June. And there are about 12 folks on the waiting list. So, we need as much as help as anyone can give us. And these are the classifications of what the O1 visa means. We're getting into a little bit of the details, but again, the O1 visa costs quite a bit. And especially in the current administration, the prices have risen, and it is getting much more difficult to obtain this visa. And of course, the waiting period is getting much longer. And the OPT, that lasts for 12 months. And when that time is done and we are applying for an O1 visa, we kind of enter this limbo where we can't leave the country because we cannot come back once we leave after the OPT ends, but also we can't work because we're still waiting for that work permit that the O1 visa gives us. So there's a lot of complications surrounding the OPT and O1 visa. And one of the goals of the Sea Lighting Foundation is to get this information out there, because I think a lot of folks, including my colleagues and friends, actually don't know the issues surrounding an O1 visa and OPT and what we go through. And so through our social media platforms, we've been trying to send the message out that what we are going through, and hopefully more folks will be interested in our situation. And this is the real, the reason why we started the Sea Lighting Foundation. It is a risk to apply for unemployment for us. And this is a catch-22 situation. So O visa holders are issued their visas to allow them to do specific work in the US. If you fail to do that work, the government generally sees it as a violation of your visa, calling it a failure to maintain status. If you fail to maintain your status, this could remain on your record forever and could make it difficult to get visas, green cards, and ESTA. So the problem with seeking unemployment is that we're essentially telling the government that we're not working, and it strongly suggests that you're failing termination of your status. So it's not that we can't apply for unemployment. There's a high chance that we can and we will get unemployment benefits for 60 days. That is our grace period. But after those 60 days, there's only 3 choices for us. One is to leave the country. The second one is to be employed again. And the third one is to have a new, starting to apply for a new visa, which, you know, all those 3 options are less than satisfactory. So far, we've raised this much money. Thank you to everyone. It means so much. And we are currently raising funds still for the month of September. We are behind a little bit, so any amount helps. There are folks who give us $5 a month. That's, you know, that means so much too. So if you have any means to give, please consider donating. Our website is sealightingfoundation.com. And also please share to folks who you think might have the means to give. Thank you very much. That's Cha and Rodrigo, me. Awesome. So that was Sea Lighting Foundation. And now I would like to introduce the 3 artists that are joined, that are with us here today. So first, Stefania, would you like to start us off?
Sure. So let me open this, share screen. How do we, oh, interesting. No, I don't have the option. Let's see. Here we go, now. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Stefania Bulbarella. I'm a theater director and projection video designer. I'm originally from Argentina, from Buenos Aires, but I've been in New York for the last 7 years of my life. Fun fact is that Buenos Aires is 5,295 miles away from New York City, that's how far away my family is at the moment. If you know me, you know that my favorite things are mate and alfajores de maicena. Yeah, actually, you might always see me with a mate, drinking a mate. It's yerba. It's nothing crazy. It's just like a tea, but it's part of our culture. And alfajores de maicena, in the middle they have dulce de leche. If you've ever heard that, or if you haven't tried it yet, try to find dulce de leche. You can find it in New York. It's a little bit more expensive than back home, but you'll find it for sure. So in the theater industry, I work as a video and projection designer amongst a lot of things. Some of my works include Closure, that was part of one move designed by, commissioned by the Movement Theater Company during the pandemic. It was actually a really interesting project because in a long time I got to, although in theater we have to tell a specific story and the play needs some specific visuals, or there's a technique style we want to use. This was a moment for me to design as a projection designer what was the style of video that I wanted to introduce into my work. So I started playing with things that I had never done on a stage before, which has been really interesting during COVID to have that opportunity. Other works include 12 Angry Animals, directed by Jessica Grinstaff at NYU Tisch. Azul Otra Vez, directed by Tatiana Pandiani. This was one of our first workshops at BRIC. Then we also did last year at Prelude, amongst others. These were the opportunities where I had the opportunity to do some video. This is a little graphic that I did for Free Street during the pandemic. We did a gameplay. So it was a game, and then you chose your own adventure. It was like, do you want to go to this street in Chicago or this street? And then we would have different actors participate on this storytelling. And as a director, some of my work, yeah, of course, I'm introducing my work. Catamenia, we did it also during the pandemic at the park. It was part of Global Forms Theater Festival. It was a really interesting process because we got to rehearse every day at the park, and we did have an audience every single day, which when you're in a studio, you have the people that are working for it, not strangers and sitting down and being like, oh, actually, I love that part. And you're like, oh, wow, thank you. This is a performance I did in my backyard called Darse Vencido Sistema Femenino. Also, yeah, crazy things I like to do. Venus, that was done in Argentina in a house. Es animal que soy a veces. It was a reading at La Tea. So yeah, I sometimes work in Spanish. I sometimes work in English. I sometimes work in other languages that I don't even understand, which I'm fascinated about. Also, as a video and production designer, I've assisted people. I've assisted great artists like Kate Hebner and Elizabeth Mack and David Bengali and Johnny Moreno. Or as a director, I've assisted Dustin Wills and Soho Rap for Wolf Play that we still didn't open, but we will eventually, and Tatiana Pandiani and Safi Dimitropoulou from People Theater Project. So it's been quite a journey so far. And yeah, that's kind of who I am. This is the piece that's going to premiere at Prelude. We're going to be showing some work in progress of Una Niña, Una Familia, Un Pueblo, that is based on the memoirs of my grandma who escaped the war in Italy in 1945 and got to Argentina and created a whole life and a whole family, and kind of finding places in common with my story as an immigrant from Argentina in New York. So that's a little bit about me. Thank you.
Thank you, Stefania.
Ay, ¿cómo se hace esto? Ay, ya está.
All right. Next, Danilo, you're up.
Yes, hello everyone. I am Danilo Gambini. Let me share my screen too. I'm gonna just share my website, and I'm gonna let it be rolling while I speak a little bit. So I am a director of musicals, theater, and operas. And I'm originally from São Paulo, Brazil. And I think that what I wanted to say about like the thing I feel the most as being an international artist here is just the difference of I've been born and raised and developed my art and craft and had a career in a different cultural like environment that is Brazil, and then coming to the United States and being also trained at the American theater arena. So yeah, I think the thing that I noticed the most, and I've been trying to develop my thought around it, is like how do I approach plays before, like how do I start, how do I enter a play when I am faced with a new one. And there was my main mentor, he used to say, my directing mentor back in Brazil, he used to say, like, you have to listen to the play is going to tell you how it wants to be directed. And this was like very like an important way of thinking. And how I see this is that we have to identify in the play what is its idiom and what is the device you need to have to use to tell this story. So one of the things, yeah, just like backtracking a little bit. So like my undergrad was in film directing, and then I went to acting conservatory, and both were in University of São Paulo. And then I had a career like 6-7 years directing in Brazil, musicals and opera. And then I came to Yale School of Drama. So most of the training like that I had here in the United States was realism and Shakespeare, which was absolutely amazing. So that's, for example, like in what I was saying about idiom and device. For an example, like realism, idiom is realism, device most of the times the fourth wall. But what I get really, really excited about is when we have different idioms, different devices. So as like as an example, like in my acting conservatory in Brazil, realism out of the 4 years, realism was 6 months. And then we studied French clowning of Jacques Lecoq and expressionism and improvisation. And well, there was some, we did study Shakespeare, or like also like Buffon, forms of comedy. Um, anyway, so like this is one of the things that, oh, Brecht a lot, and also Boal, Theater of the Oppressed, which is interesting because we're in Brazil, like you're kind of expected to know it in a way. Like it's not something that you get trained. You just like you live in an oppressed country as a whole. So it's not something that is, oh, what is like what it means to be politically or like economically oppressed. And also in our history, like recent history is like military dictatorship. So like all of my mentors went through military dictatorship as artists, which were like the most affected um, sector of society. So yeah, and another thing that like it is really funny to talk. Let me stop sharing because this is distracting me. Hello again. With my playwright friends, especially like Alex Lubischer, a playwright that was like we were roommates for 2 years in New Haven. I used to say like, well, but like I see the text as a pretext to an event, because for me theater is the event, is not necessarily the text. So the text is a pretext to an event, and we would have like very heated discussions about this, which was like incredible for both me to understand how he operates and he to understand how I operated. And like it's great because now we're working for the first time together in a play at Milwaukee Rep. It's going to be an online play, but etc. So like that's how like I think I see theater as a director. That is like a whole event. So everything that happens before you come to the theater, the moment you get into the theater, the moment like everything that we sometimes call pre-show, for me this is already the experience. And what happens when once you leave, it's the whole experience. It has to be like the performance, the togetherness, the sacredness of being together, sharing space and telling stories and listening to stories and being in community and just like exchanging energies in the space. For me, this is what theater is all about. It's just like the sacred togetherness, right? So it was also funny. Okay, anecdote. I was talking to Declan Donnellan, the director that wrote The Actor in the Target the other day, and he kept mentioning or referring to here as an evening. So like, what happens in the evening? What happens in the evening? I was like, yeah, that is precisely it. It's like it's an evening. It's an experience. It's a whole thing, right? So like where we work, right? And this is kind of obvious, but like our work happens in other people's free time or other people's leisure time. So this is something that it feels very sacred to me, that like I pay a lot of respect that those people are investing their time to experience humanity. And this is where we work. So I feel like that this is something that I really like to take care of, like every aspect of the storytelling and also every aspect around the storytelling, because this is where I feel like the artistry is more pulsating. Yeah, I guess this is it.
Yeah, thank you, Danilo. I can't. Yeah, I really miss spending the evening with people I love and working something together. I think that's what I miss most about the time right now, and I can't wait to go back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yijun?
Hi everyone. My name is Yijun Yang, and aside as I'm from China. Before I came studying in US, I was an exhibition designer back to China, and I was like doing events or gallery settings or design for most like museums or galleries, working with curators. And I just feel like something missing in my life. I feel like it's great. Like every single time I was learning more, not like artifacts or histories or other story from other designers, artists, and history. But I just feel like I'm missing something in my life as just working with curators, is receiving this information from others. Then I turned out like I also have a fine art background as I learned drawing a long time ago since I was 4. I always have this like passion about arts, and like my parents just inspire me like you love live performance. You go to see like movies, theaters all the time, performance, operas. If you feel like unsatisfying with your life, how about you change it to to just find a new form of art that you love. And I was just thinking about this opportunity to study abroad to learn how to telling story other than just doing an exhibition to educate the peoples. I just find this like adrenaline driven life is something I was missing in my life, and I just find out like theater is kind of my calling. Then I would just like sort of dive in this life being and set designer. Okay, okay. Let me share some of my work. So the part of like as being a set designer, like the part of the life I love the most is like the design process. To me is like a process of discovery. We're working as a team with directors and other designers on the team. We sort of open to all the possibility that to recreate this world that the story could happen. And every single time we form as a team, we were sort of like intriguing us some each other's. We always share the knowledge, the notes, the feelings about the story that we try to present to the audience. It's like every single time when we form to a conversation, we will have to form different ideas. We will learn from each other's and inspire each other's. And in a way, from those conversations, from those nights, we were talking about the story when we feel compelling to tell others. We want to share the feelings we learn from the story, the word. And we sort of open to a new world that the words doesn't deliver, and we present a visionary world and helping the directors, helping the actors to recreate a story. It's something like deeply satisfying me, and like the 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 most part of my process here is like working with others. Even in the pandemic, the shows was canceled or we have to go online. We all the artists and the directors, we sort of try to find a way that to still telling stories, and even in a new form or new medias. No one just want to sitting at home and give up in this situation. Everyone's still finding a way to doing the art and we love the most. I think this is something like I learned the most and deeply in love about theater people is like we sort of in every situation together, in every moment we're together to telling a story. This teamwork is like something I really enjoyed, and to just and being part of this like team and just helping each other to establish this visionary world, to me is most favorite thing I want to do. And it's like now it's become like the best thing I can do right now. And this is like sort of my story.
Thank you, Yijun. I love what you said about the discovery is the favorite thing you love about your process, because it's really that like we try to plan, you know, what we're going to put on stage all the time, but actually the most exciting moment is that when we're all there sitting in the dark and actually something happens, something more profound happens in front of you, more than what you were, you know, all of us as a team were planning. And I think that's such so special in theater, like because it's live, because we're sharing space with other people, and things can happen that we just never planned. So thank you so much for sharing your stories and how you came here as artists. You know, I want to I have some questions that I want to ask you all, like so you all had careers back in your home country, and then you came here. I was wondering what the most, well, the most might be a little difficult to answer, but a very rewarding experience that you've had since you came here. If you could share that with us, I would love to hear that. Maybe Stefania, do you have something?
Sure. I've been thinking about this and just now, and there's so many rewarding experiences that I have since I came to New York. One of them is meeting so many people from different places that I was not aware of, and working with people from different cultures, which I'm super curious about. Everything. I'll be asking questions all the time, like, why dude? And this why? And this and this, and explain to me. Mm-hmm. So I think that is kind of the best thing that has happened to me since I've been in New York, meeting different people from everywhere.
Yeah, no, that is really special. It's great to even like, that's also special about New York too. Just finding people from different backgrounds, and it's very exciting.
No, totally. And for example, now, like, I was working on this piece and it had German, Italian, and I had so many friends to be like, hey, how do you say this in German? How do you say this in Italian? And it was just crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we always have to be curious. Like, that's what we do as theater makers. We have to, like, that's like so important to be curious, and to be curious about other people is just, it's a necessity. And living that is wonderful. Yeah, Danilo, you have something to share?
Yeah, I feel, of course, I think the strongest thing that I feel is like the collaborators and friends that I've met.
Mm-hmm.
So many incredible different people that are just talented and hungry and wanted to do the best they can. I think this is for sure the most rewarding experience. But one of the things that I felt changed in me the most, so I've been here for 3 years now, is that I feel I understand myself better now in a way, because there's this thing when you decide, well, I was 30 when I decided, like, at 30 years old, to move countries and to become an immigrant. This is like a very strong decision. Like, okay, I'm gonna leave everything behind in a way, and then, like, of course, like, I'm from Brazil, so I have my career, my family, my partner who's still in Brazil, and you move here, and then there's like a whole other identity that is attached to you. And it took me a while to understand, like, oh, I am an immigrant now. So it takes you a while to understand, okay, what does that mean? And of course, like, and I'm a Latino man. So what does that mean now? What does that mean in the United States? How do I navigate it? And this is, of course, this is like a layer of identity that I've always had. But then there's like, oh, there was like this whole period of like, okay, what is me? What is the Brazilian in me? What is the Latino in me? What is, like, what is everything? Like, I had to, like, kind of reconnect and re-examine all layers of my identity. And then it just feels like I can appreciate deeper Brazil, but also I'm much more critic now. And the same thing in the United States, like, I can, like, deeply, I can know what I appreciate and admire of this in this country, and also the things that are like, this makes no sense. So I feel like this is like, these are the two things that, like, I gained the most here.
Yeah, no, you really learn more about yourself by gaining perspective, by leaving where you were comfortable from. I totally agree. And it's funny because I became more critical about Japan because I was on the outside. I don't know if you all became like that too. And I was like, yeah.
Yeah, just before I moved here, one of my best friends, childhood friends, he lives in Texas now. And he said one thing, just like, he was like, okay, the only thing I'm going to tell you is once you leave, when you say, like, I'm going to leave Brazil, you're never going to be as Brazilian, but you also are never going to feel as American. So be prepared to to have your land sort of taken away from you, which is very, I feel it has been very precise, And just like, I just say a lot of side notes, but like as a side note, like I've been working on this, like a project on for Opera America of this opera called Cruzar la Cara de la Luna, which is a mariachi opera. And it's about this immigrant that is trying to find his land, his homeland. And it touched me so deeply every time I listen to it, like I break down and cry just because it is like, okay, where is my land? Where is home? Where is my homeland? So like this is like, it becomes a thing that like you get much more conscious of, that like you sort of choose where your home is. And like I'm realizing that home is actually people, at least for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I have my chosen family here too. I mean, I don't have any blood relatives here, but I feel that I do have a family. Yeah, thank you. Yijun?
Yeah, I definitely agree to Daniel. Like, I do feel like myself getting smaller. Like I don't pay too much attention by my name. I'm more considered like me in this environment, how I like connect to other people's. It always like feel interesting to me. It's like I want to know if people share the same feeling of the same thought as me, or why you think different this way. Like I love to discover why we have different thoughts or different feeling towards the same story or same event or like anything. Like why we different, why we share the same feeling. And certainly like the new perspective, like study abroad and like in like other like programs, I'm the only one like international in, so it's feel like, do I feel lonely, do I feel like left behind, or I chosen to live in new countries, I give up so many stuff I can have back home. But also I feel like I have my chosen family here, but also formed me well, because my sometimes when I video chat my friend back home or my relatives, like, oh, I feel like you changed, you become more confident, or you just feel more like objective about some opinions. It does shape me a different way. I think it's like a good middle ground between, now I become like this bridge, but like at least in my family, when they have opinions about American, or like my friends have opinions about something happened in States, and like I will tell my American friends, hey, what's about the China I know. It just give me like more opportunity to share different like cultural background, like to help people know more about what I have been through or what I learn, what I see. It's like, it's a great way, like a rewarding way to also help me like uh, making more friends, become more reasonable when an argument, comes. It does helps a lot.
Yeah, I don't know if you all feel this way, but I feel more comfortable people not understanding me or people having different opinions, or maybe I should phrase it in a different way. I feel fine explaining myself more or asking questions more. Like when I was in Japan, I just assumed, we were all not the same, but we were on the same wavelength. Like even the language, right? Like if we speak too fluently together, it's like you don't explain enough. But here, like even now after 8 years, I still struggling sometimes with the language. But then that, like, I feel okay about it. It's not just about the language, but just even expressing my feelings, or the other way around. Like I want to know what the other person is not saying, because I think that's actually where the essence is of each individual, like what's not being said. And I think that changed for me when I came here.
Yeah. Something funny about language is that if I'm speaking in English and suddenly one word won't come in English, I'll just say it in Spanish. And then like, instead of explaining like, I don't remember how to say this word. Wait, how do you say this? I'll say it in Spanish, and then I'll be like, it'll eventually come. Oh, this is what I meant. And sometimes people understand when you're there and the thing, people get it. They look at me like, you just spoke to me in Spanish. I was like, yeah, I don't remember that word.
Yeah, this is a funny side note, but the last panel we were on, I was with Cha and Rodrigo. I couldn't remember the word average. And I was yelling, not yelling, but saying, what's that word where you add things and then you divide it by the number? And then people were like yelling out names, and in the chat, people were, it was nice. It was actually, it's better than being able to just say the word that you mean. Yeah, that's great. Well, then what do you think? So, you know, since you all are here, like, you know, this time we don't have live theater, like Yijun, you were saying, like, you love how the community has like tenacity, you know, like we still try to create things. We're still artists at heart, even though there is no live theater. Like, what's bringing you happiness at this time during Corona?
I think it's like more often to chat with friends, not just about work. More just like daily checking, small things we send each other, like cute cats and dogs. It just become a very leisure time for me to get emotion bonding with my friends, because usually we just very busy, like as other theater people, we are very busy. But like now it become this quiet time. I'm just like leisurely checking friends, like we're talking about the stuff we were ignore. I won't say ignore, but like we don't have to pay attention. Like my scenic charge friends, and she's like, now I finally have time to do some manicure, you know, something like little small things just to make me feel like happy. We are finally taking care of each other. Yeah, nice color. It was when when you're making models, there's no way you can put a nice nail color on it. It just like small stuff. I'm just glad to see other like my friends like find small work and also taking care of each other, like taking care of the health, and like find some peace, inner peace, and during daily life, and enjoy the nature. So it's like the small quiet thing we are doing just for taking care of ourselves makes me feel happy, and I just feel like great. It's not ideal for any of us, but I'm happy to see everyone just taking out each other and themselves. Yeah.
And I think that's what I'm feeling from the Sea Lighting Foundation too. You know, we started it as a necessity, but if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't have met.
Yeah, funny part is Stefania just find out we're supposed to be working on the same show.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, we couldn't meet each other, but we will meet eventually. But yeah, it's like it's a good way to find friends, like, because like I never thought I was very lonely during this very busy year in grad school, even though I'm the only one in the program. But like when you actually graduate from school, you just find like, no, they are Americans. They don't need facing this visa situation. They can help, but eventually it's me going through this path. I just feel very grateful that we find each other. We know we have this family that go through the same thing. We can talk about it. We can share the experience. We can share everything we want because we have the similar background. I just feel very nice and happy about this.
Yeah, and to add to that, it was crazy. I mean, as you said, Kimie, Sea Lighting Foundation emerged from a necessity, but the community that we like, I feel part of now. I've met so many friends who I only know virtually, and I'm like waiting to know, like, how do you say this? You know, you understand.
In person, in real life. Yeah.
And then it's like, and realize that I'm not alone. Like there's suddenly this group of 60 immigrant theater artists that we've all been through the same things, or we're going through the same things. And before, maybe I didn't know that many immigrant theater makers, or I still hadn't collaborated with many of the people who are in this organization. And this, I don't know, it just put us to, like, it kind of put us more together in a way. Yeah, and suddenly it's, hey, there's a network to be like, hey, this video design gig came out, I'm not available, is there anyone out there would love to take it? And then there's, yeah, me, I have like this week free or this 2 weeks, and it's great. We're sharing works and gigs and opportunities and festival opportunities. And we became a little big family in a way that doesn't know each other yet personally, some of us, but there's something that we care. There's like this feeling of someone is caring for you and you're not alone. It's been a blessing to be part of this throughout this few months, which have been really rough and trying to reinvent ourselves.
Feel the same way. Danilo?
Yeah, I feel for me, of course, and for most people, when the pandemic hit, I went in like desperation mode. I was like, fuck, what am I gonna do? And as you said, like for the visa, I could only like be directing things and directing theater, and theater is not happening anymore. So like okay, I go back to Brazil and just like chill for a while, or I will have to just move forward. And this is very like interesting. The first play that I directed here in the United States was a solo show called Ni Mi Madre by Arturo Soria. And there's this one scene that he's talking about his mom, and then his mom says like, "Hey, coming back. There's no coming back. There's only moving forward. You go and you swim and you swim and you think you cannot swim anymore. You go even further." And this was like something that like really kept on my brain. I was like, no, I don't think there's coming back for me. And also like again, this mentor, like he's in my realm today, Yakov Hillel. He said like, in your career is like the sea. Sometimes you're gonna be riding this huge wave, and sometimes the sea just retracts, and you have to learn how to operate in both. So I feel that like in most of our lives, but like in my life, there's a retraction, and in this retraction, I'm just like making sure that I'm ready to ride the next wave. So like I think the first thing that I did was just like call the collaborators and the friends that like I want to work with in the future, and I was like, okay, I called like my friend, composer, was like, okay, I think this is the time for us to start developing that musical that we talked about. And then we've been doing this for 3 months already. And then just calling like playwrights was like, okay, should we read a play? What should we do? Do you have anything? And then like this was my process like April and May. And thank God, like now things are starting to come. So as I said, like there's this short play online happening at Milwaukee Red by Alex Lubisher. And then there's the cycle of songs by Francis Pollock and Jeremy Dye that I'm directing. Also everything online, right? But at Chautauqua Opera, like, things are just starting to come, which is I feel it's very, it's giving me a lot of energy and a lot of love and a lot of hope. And maybe, I don't know if it's hope, I think it's faith. It's just because it's based on nothing. It's just based on like the fact that I just love this and I love theater, and I don't think theater is ever going anywhere just because of what I said, the specificity of just us being together. And now we are all understanding in this very fundamental way what it means to not be together, what it means to be afraid of breathing with someone, what is be afraid of sharing space with someone, right? So what I believe is that like, because we are as a society understanding what it means not to have it, we will also forever have an extra value on like just this, how important it is, how essential it is, and how something is missing when we don't have that. Yeah. So I just 100% believe that like the next wave is going to be this like rebirth, blossoming of togetherness. And this is where my faith lies. And just like, okay, I just want to be ready to be able to share space with people again. So like how can I, of course, deal with mental health, deal with like lawyers and fees and everything, and just like, okay, because we all are doing that, but just like prepare that, because I want to be full and I want to be whole and I want to be like in my full integrity to be able to ride this wave that is coming. We just don't know when, which is very building, but it's coming.
Yeah. No, absolutely. As you mentioned, like things are kind of not live theater yet, but there are some projects that I think we're all working on, and things are, happening little by little. Like, what do you wish for in our industry um, you know, I personally believe we can't just start where we left off. I think going through this as a community, like the whole world is going through this, it also opened my eyes to our industry, to things that must change. And I'm wondering if you all had any thoughts about what you hope for of our industry, what can change.
Yeah, of course. One of the things I would love to change is time, those long shifts and days in tech, and sometimes even going from tech to tech to tech to tech, where Monday is your only day free, but then Monday you're teaching, you're in future production meetings, and suddenly you've been working for 3 months with not a free day. And like, oh, today I have 2 hours for free, as if it was like, and yeah, and once COVID struck, I was like, oh wow, who am I? Because I was going and going and going and going and going. It was work, it was great opportunities, it was great groups, but automatic mode where I don't know if it's where I'm like in my early career, but it was just too much, like 10 to 10, going back home, re-rendering stuff, this, working on 3 projects at the same time. It was a lot. It was a lot. So I wonder, what is the change, or how can we have a free day where it's an actual free day and not a free day to work on different things?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know how you all thought, but I was kind of in a dangerous place where I thought I was my work, like, so because I was like a machine, I was working all the time. And of course I loved it, but there's, you have to live too. like life, see other people and have some breathing time. And I think you're totally right about time. Like this, what we were in was just this constantly churning machine. And when COVID hit and everything stopped, I suddenly had this like, am I not me anymore because I'm not working? And it's scary how this industry does do that to you, because yes, we love what we do, but at the same time, we are underpaid. We work constantly, and I hope that every institution rethinks what their how they were operating and how they could give their artists more of an environment where they can do their best. Yeah. Yijun, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, besides we need thought about how we gonna choose our schedule, how we gonna work. I wish every institutions, every theater company can pay us on time. After this COVID ends, I will really happy to see my paycheck arrives on time, because it's weird, but it happens. We all love each other. We love the work we did for each production, but unfortunately, sometimes it often late actually. And as a young designer, just walking into industry by living paycheck by the paycheck.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. It's true. I've been in tech without seeing my first or second paycheck, and it's hard to speak up about it because that's just how it is.
Yeah, it just like I appreciate they pay me and everything, the help they offer, but I just wish it's on time so I can have like more on time track about like my fees, how I gonna survive this week, how I gonna saving money this month, how I gonna plan my future work. Because if I'm constantly underpaid, I was seeking more work. It's not like then become a machine, like I have no break. It's just a bad end towards everything in my life, at least from my experience. So I wish like we have this opportunity to talk about like how we're gonna get paid, especially for young designers and smaller productions. We know it's like every theater has their own struggling all the time, but even though we can have a timeline and write down our contract, we can know when we can expect our paycheck. We'll really appreciate that too, you know. It is
Yeah,
something
and I mean
smaller. Yeah.
it's a minimum. It's a minimum.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's Danilo.
Yeah, I think I'm thinking on the same wavelength as we said. As we said, there's no coming back, right? As I said, like theater can only move forward from here,
Mhm.
and I am 100% sure that there are a lot of theater managers thinking about how to do this. But like, what we are going through this, like, we need to more voices in theater, right? Like diverse, whatever this word is, voices, which is amazing and absolutely necessary. What I'm thinking is like, okay, how to really diversify the voices? How can like things move further? Like diversify modes of production, diversify times of production. Uh, for example, as Stefania said, like we need free times, and then we're thinking like, okay, like so artists that like want to have kids or are having kids or raising families, like how can you be fully both, like a parent and an artist, and not having to like um, uh, to be less of one or other, actually retrofeed one in the other. And of course, like there is the complication of money and fundings and schedules and how to actually make a theater company run, right? This is not what us artists on like on the ground worrying about, but this is the reality. So just like I'm thinking like, okay, the diversifying of voices can also be diversifying of models. And of course there are like diverse models happening all over the country and all over the world. So, but I think they could take a little bit of more protagonism in a way. Um, I don't think, sometimes once like, this is a Brazilian saying, like you don't mess with the team that's winning. Doesn't make any sense in English. Uh, no, right?
Oh yeah, could you
Yes.
could
Soccer.
yeah.
Not that I even
Say
play,
more. Yeah.
but like I guess I'm going full on Brazilian now. So like when you say like when you have a team that's winning, you don't change the players. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the thing. Like I don't think we have a team that's winning anymore in theater. So we have to change the players, and we
Mm-hmm.
can change the players. We always could, but now I think now everything is up in the air. So I'm thinking like, okay, what is this new structure that's being created and we are creating together? And of course, like people who are like leading the bigger institutions, there's like so much at stake, like the very survival of the institutions. And for us, it's the very survival of us. So I feel that there is a way, and I hope that there is a restructuring coming.
Yeah, and this all comes from love. Like, we care about it so much, and that's why we criticize, because we love it and we want to be here when it reopens. And oh, Peggy Chain, if it's not broke, don't fix it. That's apparently how you say it. Thank you, Peggy. So, um, so thank you. This is great. I think I would love to open the floor up to any questions that anyone might have, the attendees. Um, let's see. Maybe there are no questions. Maybe we answered it all.
Mhm.
How can immigrants who aren't, sorry, it's really loud out there, who aren't O1 visa holders connect with Sea Lighting, immigrant artists? Well, you should email us. And so we have been helping folks, first come, first serve, and you should, our email is out there, our Instagram is out there. Let me just type in our Instagram too, because we also get DMs from a lot of folks. And we should talk. we started this actually in the really beginning. It was for O1 visa designers, and then we quickly spread because we felt that there was more need. And we did choose O1 because we found that there were not many grants that were, or actually like none really, going to folks who are on a visa status like ours. So that's why we focused on that. But of course, please reach out to us. I mean, our emails are out there.
Yeah, and also it's exciting to think about how this foundation is going to change in the future because this is it. We just created this community and to like in contact with so many artists that we maybe would not otherwise. So, so I feel like this has been like really, really incredible. And of course, the money has been a huge help, but also like just as Stefania said, like just the sense of community, the sense of like not being alone, the sense of, right? We're together in this. Just amplify.
Yeah, I'm very glad you mentioned that actually, because we do want Sea Lighting Foundation to continue. Maybe not in the fundraising part of it, but like as a community, we do want to keep our website up, keep our community up. Hopefully when we'll have a proper meet and greet in real life, because we did it on Zooms. But I think the Sea Lighting Foundation should continue even after this crisis.
I see 2 questions at the
Great.
Q&A.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What are some dream projects for you all? Ooh, I want to design the Olympics.
Tokyo Olympics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank God they postponed it. I wasn't.
Yeah.
Design, so next time.
I want to do a full production of Una niña y una familia en pueblo.
Nice.
I don't know for specific productions, but I do want to design an opera.
Yes.
At some point.
Oh my God, I have so many dream projects. I can say, I know what a dream career is for me right now. It's just like being able to direct one show after the other that I'm proud of. Yeah. Or just be directing my whole time, which is not the reality, but this is kind of my dream world.
Yeah.
There's another one. I think I can read it. So,
yeah, please.
Betty Robbins. Many of New York Theater Workshop's regular audience members are retired persons. What many of you are voicing are among the thoughts and fears of the recently retired. For example, I am not me because I'm not working, or how I will support myself when my income is interrupted. Yeah. So how do your thoughts carry over to Theater for New York Theater Workshop's core audience? Carry over to Theater for New York Theater Workshop's core audience.
Let's do a piece about it. Let's all get together. Maybe virtually and create a piece about that. Who am I without work?
And I mean, that's the thing. I don't think we are not ourselves because we're not working. It's this what we're taught to believe in. It's the society that we live in that kind of makes us think that way, but it shouldn't be that. And so what it's such a big problem. It's just not theater. It's in any industry, any overworked person, or any capitalist society, right? Like, it's just we feel that we have to be productive. So honestly, I don't know how to solve it, and I don't think I can. But it's just such a deep issue. So everyone vote. Because we can't vote.
Yeah, and also I would say yes, vote, and yes, keep engaging, right? Because voting, uh, we can only go so far because, like, I think there are some bigger restructure, and not that I think, everyone knows there are bigger restructuring that our society needs, that we need to take care of, like just our very existence. Like we know, like capitalism is not working. It hasn't been. And this is just like it's in detriment of our humanities. I think this is what we're talking about.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's the world we live in, and even no matter how we try, in the world we live in, there is no moral consumption. You know, we just can't. It's just not set up that way. So how do we change that? It's just looking. We have to keep looking at the bigger picture and be political. And art should be political, I think, because we can change people's minds.
Precisely. Yeah, because this is okay, I'm sorry, just like I got excited. This is again what the stage is. The stage is just like this breach in space and time that we create and that we propose different existences. It's just we just like just different relationships, different so like we can propose a better way of existing. This is just like the sacred breach that we can create.
Mhm.
So
And no, that's great, because also that goes to where we were talking about what we wish for the industry, because you know, it's, to me, institutions have to invest more in the people and not the product. Like there are so many times when my fee is like minuscule to the set budget that I'm given, you know, and it's not, where are the funds going, where is this money going? And it's not to the people, it's mostly to the product or advertising, and I hope that changes too. No, and I think it's a microcosm of 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 the world we live in now, that the product seems more essential than the people. Yeah, I didn't think we would be getting this deep in this morning's session. But
that's fun.
yeah, it's fun. Thank you for the wonderful questions. Yeah. Rachel.
Hi, thank you. Thank you all so much for this conversation. Oh, I hear an echo, so let me just turn this off. It's really making me miss theater, hearing you all talk about it. Oh gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm echoing. Anyway, I want this to turn off. Thank you so much. Thank you everybody who joined us. I just want to make another plug for supporting C Lighting Foundation as generously as you can. If you're watching this, really any amount helps to help support these artists through this time, through the pandemic, and the, you know, failures of our government in this moment. So please consider supporting as much as possible. And I also just want to make a couple plugs for some things coming up. So we're going to drop some information in the chat. One is for an International Theater Makers Award that's happening through the playwrights realm. So if you are watching and you're an international theater maker, please check this out. Also the Small Offerings Salon, which is benefiting the C Lighting Foundation. We'll drop a link to that as well. You can buy a ticket, and I think you have a period of a week to watch. And a couple events coming up with the workshop. On Friday, we have a fireside chat at 7 o'clock. Theater makers talking about gaming. That'll be with Celine Song and some other playwrights who are also gamers. Next Wednesday, we have a talk with What the Constitution Means to Me, Heidi Schreck, around the broadcasting of that on Amazon. And also on Thursday, October 22nd at 7, we have an open mic night with Poetic Theater Productions. So just a couple things coming up. Thank you so much for joining us. We're also gonna drop a link to a short survey in the chat. So please fill it out if you have an extra minute or two, and we'd love to hear from you. And so I just really wanna thank Kimie and Danilo, Stefania, Yijun for this hour. It's really wonderful getting to know you all and your work and the work of Sea Lighting, and it's just been a wonderful way to spend a morning. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you for the invitation.